Have you ever felt like someone was stealing a piece of your life, bit by bit, and you couldn't do anything about it? That's exactly how I felt when I realized Karen from our HOA was sneaking into my backyard every night, plugging her Tesla into my outlet, and jacking up my electric bill by $400 a month. It wasn't just about the money, it was the betrayal, the smug way she thought she could get away with it. But stick around, because the way I turned her $80,000 car into a useless chunk of metal with a single power surge is a story you won't forget. If you love hearing about HOA bullies getting what they deserve, hit that subscribe button for more HOA stories. It's worth it. My name's Lucas Bennett, a 38-year-old network technician living in Willow Creek, a quiet suburb in Ohio. I'd been in the neighborhood for 4 years, enjoying the calm routine of my single life after a rough breakup. Willow Creek was the kind of place where people waved at each other, kids played in the cul-de-sacs, and the HOA kept everything picture perfect. Or at least, it did until Karen Whitaker moved in next door. She rolled up in her shiny black Tesla Model S, her designer sunglasses gleaming as brightly as her car, and immediately acted like she owned the place. I tried to be friendly at first, dropping off a welcome card and some local coffee. Karen took one look at my modest ranch-style house, gave a tight smile, and said, "How sweet. You must love the simplicity here." Her tone made it clear she thought my place was beneath her. Karen wasn't just another neighbor. She was a storm waiting to break. She had this way of talking that made you feel small, always name-dropping her husband, Richard, a big-shot real estate lawyer, and bragging about her custom-built pergola or her imported tile patio. I didn't think much of it until my electric bill arrived 1 month after she moved in. It was $550, way up from my usual $150. I thought it was a mistake, maybe a meter glitch. I called the power company, and they confirmed the reading was correct, suggesting I check for a hydro device. I went through every appliance in my house, fridge, AC, even my gaming PC, nothing added up. My neighbor on the other side, a retired teacher named Ellen, said her bill was normal, so it was just my house. That's when I started to suspect something was off. Late one night, around 1 a.m., my phone pinged with a motion alert from my security camera. I opened the app, expecting a raccoon or a stray cat, but there was Karen, in a silk robe, sneaking across my backyard with a long orange extension cord. She plugged it into my outdoor outlet, the one I used for my string lights, and ran it back to her Tesla, parked just behind our shared fence. The cord was tucked under some bushes. She'd insisted the HOA plant for privacy. I couldn't believe it. She was stealing my electricity, bold as anything, thinking I'd never notice. The next morning, I knocked on her door, phone in hand, ready to confront her. Karen answered in a yoga outfit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Her smile as fake as ever. "Lucas, what's this about?" she asked, like she hadn't been caught red-handed. I showed her the footage, time-stamped and clear. "Karen, you've been using my outlet to charge your Tesla. My bill's through the roof because of it." Her smile didn't budge. "Oh, Lucas, that could be anyone in that video. And if your bill's high, maybe you should check your own wiring. Old houses, you know." She leaned in, her voice dropping. "As HOA treasurer, I could look into your fence height. It's a bit over-regulation, isn't it?" I walked away fuming, knowing she wasn't going to stop. That's when I realized this wasn't just about a few bucks. Karen was playing a bigger game, and I was just the first casualty. Over the next few weeks, she started flexing her HOA power. I got a violation notice for my non-compliant mailbox, which had been fined for years. Ellen got one for her garden gnomes, and a young couple down the street, Mike and Lisa, were fined for parking their SUV an inch past their driveway line. Karen was everywhere, clipboard in hand, writing up petty violations while her Tesla kept sipping my electricity every night. I tried locking my outlet with a cover, but another HOA notice showed up, signed by the president, Harold, demanding I remove it for aesthetic violations. Harold was a nervous guy, always adjusting his glasses, and I later learned Karen had him wrapped around her finger with fancy dinners and promises of community upgrades. I started digging into Karen's influence. She'd wormed her way into the HOA board in just 2 months, throwing lavish parties for members and dropping hints about her husband's legal connections. At the next HOA meeting, I decided to speak up. The community center was packed, with about 40 neighbors squeezed into folding chairs. I raised my hand during the open floor. "I've got evidence of someone using private electricity without permission," I said, holding up my phone. Before I could show the video, Karen cut in, her voice smooth as silk. "Lucas, personal issues don't belong here. Submit it in writing per the rules." Harold nodded like a puppet. "Yes, proper procedure, please." I sat down, feeling the eyes of the room on me, but Karen just smirked. That's when she dropped her own bombshell, a proposal for new Tesla charging stations in the community lot to boost property values. The catch? The electricity costs would be split across everyone's HOA dues. I read the fine print later. One station was planned right next to her driveway, perfect for her Tesla. She wasn't just stealing from me anymore. She was about to make the whole neighborhood pay for her car. I knew then that playing nice wasn't going to work. Karen thought she was untouchable, but she didn't know who she was messing with. I wasn't just a technician. I'd spent years designing network security systems for data centers. If she wanted to play dirty, I'd build a trap she'd never see coming. Karen's smug smile at the HOA meeting stuck with me, like a splinter I couldn't pull out. She thought she had everyone fooled, but I wasn't about to let her turn our neighborhood into her personal piggy bank. I spent the next few days watching her Tesla charge for my outlet, the security camera catching her nightly routine. Every time I saw that orange cord snaking through my backyard, my blood boiled. But I knew yelling wouldn't fix this. I needed a plan, something smart and airtight, so Karen couldn't wiggle out. That's when I remembered a trick from my days securing data centers. Sometimes the best way to stop a thief is to let them think they're winning, right until they lose everything. I started by talking to Ellen, the retired teacher next door. She was in her 60s, with a sharp mind and a knack for remembering every neighborhood detail. Over coffee, in her cozy kitchen, I showed her the footage of Karen. "That woman's trouble," Ellen said, shaking her head. "Last month, she fined me $50 for my gnomes, said they were tacky. Meanwhile, she's stealing your power." I nodded, explaining how Karen's charging station plan would jack up everyone's HOA fees. Ellen's eyes narrowed. "Lucas, I've got records of every HOA meeting since '98. Karen's been pushing shady votes through, like that new landscaping contract that went to her cousin's company. She promised to dig through her notes for anything I could use. That was my first ally, and I felt a spark of hope. Next, I visited Mike and Lisa, the young couple down the street. They were in their 30s, with 2 kids and a tight budget. Mike was a mechanic, and Lisa worked at a grocery store. They invited me in, their living room cluttered with toys. "We can't afford these HOA fines," Lisa said, her voice tired. "Karen cited us for our SUVs parking, but we measured it's legal. Now, this charging station nonsense? We don't even own an electric car." Mike clenched his fists. "She's got Harold eating out of her hand." I saw him at her barbecue, laughing like they're best friends. I told them about Karen stealing my electricity and showed them the video. Mike whistled. "That's bold. What's your plan, Lucas?" I grinned. "Something technical, but I need your help to spread the word." They agreed to talk to other neighbors, quietly building a team. Back home, I got to work. My job as a network technician wasn't just about cables and routers. I designed systems to catch hackers trying to overload servers. Karen's Tesla was no different. It was a device I could outsmart. I ordered a smart power protection unit, the kind used in commercial buildings. It could detect unauthorized draws, flash warning lights, and, if ignored, send a controlled surge to protect the circuit. The surge wouldn't hurt anyone, but it could fry sensitive electronics, like a Tesla's battery system. I installed it on my outlet, hidden inside a weatherproof box, and added a second camera for extra footage. The system was legal, certified, and had clear warnings. If Karen plugged in again, she'd get a lesson she couldn't ignore. A week later, my camera pinged at 1:30 a.m. There was Karen, in her fancy robe, plugging in her Tesla like nothing had changed. The protection unit's yellow light flashed, and a soft beep sounded. I watched on my phone, heart racing. Karen glanced at the light, smirked, and cranked her Tesla's charge to max, like she was daring me. The system gave 2 more warnings, then kicked in. A quick voltage spike, just enough to overload her car's battery management. Then the power cut off. Karen froze, staring at her Tesla's screen as an error message blinked. She yanked the cord out, looking around nervously, then scurried back to her house. I checked my system's logs. Her car had taken a hit, exactly as planned. The next morning, a tow truck was in her driveway, hauling her Tesla away. I sipped my coffee, trying not to smile too big. Karen didn't knock on my door right away, which surprised me. Instead, I got an HOA notice, signed by Harold, claiming my outlet box violated community standards and had to be removed. I knew Karen was behind it, trying to cover her tracks. I called Ellen, who'd found a gold mine in her records. Karen had pushed through the charging station vote without a proper quorum, breaking HOA bylaws. Mike and Lisa had rallied 6 other neighbors, all fed up with rising fees and Karen's petty fines. We agreed to confront her at the next meeting, but I had a bad feeling. Karen wasn't the type to go down easy, and her husband, Richard, was a lawyer who could make things messy. I needed more than just evidence. I needed the whole neighborhood to see her for what she was. The tow truck hauling Karen's Tesla away was the talk of Willow Creek for days. Neighbors whispered about it at mailboxes and over fences, but nobody knew the full story. Yet, I kept my mouth shut, letting Karen stew while I prepared for the next HOA meeting. Her latest notice about my outlet box was a clear shot across the bow, but I wasn't worried. My power protection unit was legal, wired to code, and had warning labels brighter than her Tesla's paint job. Karen thought she could bully me into taking it down, but I was ready to flip the script. I spent hours going over Ellen's HOA records, which were a treasure chest of Karen's shady moves. She'd redirected $10,000 of community funds to landscaping improvements that only went to her cousin's company. That was my ace, but I needed to play it right. I met with Mike, Lisa, and Ellen at my place to plan our next move. Mike brought over a 6-pack, and we sat around my kitchen table, papers spread out like a war room. Karen's got Harold scared, Mike said, cracking open a beer. He's not going to listen unless we make it impossible to ignore. Lisa nodded. Half the neighborhood's mad about the new fees. If we show them Karen's behind it, they'll back us. Ellen slid a folder across the table. Here's the vote records. No quorum for the charging station approval. It's against our bylaws. I smiled, feeling the pieces coming together. We hit her with this at the meeting, and I'll show the footage of her stealing my power. She won't have anywhere to hide. But Lisa looked nervous. What about her husband? Richard's a lawyer. What if they sue? I leaned back, thinking of my old data center days. Let them try. My system's certified, and I've got logs showing her car ignored the warnings. She fried her own battery. 2 days before the meeting, Karen upped the stakes. I got a call from Harold, his voice shaky. Lucas, the board's reviewing your outlet box. Karen says it caused electrical issues with her car. I laughed. Harold, my box is legal. Tell her to prove it. He hung up fast, and I knew Karen was pulling his strings. That night, my camera caught something new. Not Karen, but a guy in a hoodie messing with my outlet box, trying to pry it open. The motion lights scared him off, but I recognized the logo on his jacket. It matched the landscaping company Karen used. She was sending goons now, probably her cousin's crew. I saved the footage, my heart pounding. This wasn't just about electricity anymore. Karen was desperate and dangerous. I went to Ellen's the next morning, showing her the new video. Her face went pale. Lucas, that's Tommy, Karen's cousin's son. He's trouble, got arrested for vandalism last year. She paused, then grinned. But this is perfect. Show this at the meeting. And she's done. I wasn't so sure. Karen had a knack for twisting things, and Richard's legal threats loomed large. I needed one more edge. That's when Mike called, out of breath. Lucas, you gotta see this. Karen's been telling people you sabotaged her Tesla out of jealousy. She's got half the board believing you're the bad guy. I clenched my jaw. Let her talk. We'll hit back harder. The day of the HOA meeting arrived, and the community center buzzed with tension. About 50 neighbors showed up more than usual, thanks to Mike and Lisa spreading the word. Karen sat at the board table, her makeup perfect, chatting with Harold like nothing was wrong. I carried a USB drive with my videos, Karen stealing power, Tommy tampering with my box, and Ellen's folder of vote records. My stomach churned as I took a seat near the front. Harold started the meeting, his glasses slipping as he read the agenda. Karen stood up, all smiles, and pushed her charging station plan again. "It's for the future of Willow Creek," she said, her voice dripping with fake sincerity. A few neighbors clapped, but others looked skeptical. I raised my hand, ready to strike, but Karen cut me off. "Lucas, we're discussing community projects, not personal grudges." The room went quiet, and I felt every eye on me. Then Ellen stood up, her voice steady. "Actually, I think Lucas has something everyone needs to see." Karen's smile faltered, just for a second. That's when I knew we had her on the ropes. But the real fight was just starting. The air in the community center felt thick as Ellen's words hung there, daring Karen to respond. Karen's smile tightened, but she stayed cool, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Ellen, dear, let's keep this civil," she said, her voice like honey laced with venom. "We're here to improve Willow Creek, not chase rumors." I stood up, USB drive in hand, my pulse racing. "This isn't a rumor, Karen. I've got proof you've been stealing my electricity for months." The room buzzed, neighbors leaning forward in their chairs. Harold adjusted his glasses, looking like he wanted to crawl under the table. "Lucas, please, submit complaints in writing," he stammered. But Ellen wasn't having it. Harold let him speak. "We've all got a right to know what's happening." I plugged my USB into the projector, and the screen lit up with my security footage. There was Karen, clear as day, sneaking through my backyard at 1 a.m., plugging her Tesla into my outlet. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Karen's face went red, but she jumped up. "That's edited. You can't trust videos these days. Lucas is just mad about his violation notices." I didn't flinch. "Then explain this," I said, switching to the clip of Tommy, her cousin's son, trying to break into my outlet box. The logo on his hoodie matched her cousin's landscaping company. Neighbors started whispering, pointing at Karen. She opened her mouth, but I wasn't done. "And here's the best part," I said, pulling up my power logs. "Your Tesla ignored 3 warnings from my certified protection unit. That's why your battery fried. You did it to yourself, Karen." The room erupted. Mike shouted, "She's been raising our fees for her own car." Lisa held up her phone, showing texts from neighbors who'd gotten similar fines. Karen raised her hands, trying to calm everyone. "This is a misunderstanding. My husband, Richard, will sort this out legally if needed." That name drop shut some people up. Nobody wanted a lawsuit. But Ellen stepped forward, holding her folder like a weapon. "No need for lawyers, Karen. You broke the bylaws." She passed out copies of the vote records, showing the charging station approval lacked a quorum. "You pushed this through illegally, and you funneled $10,000 to your cousin's company for landscaping we didn't need." The crowd got louder, angrier. A guy in the back, Tom, a plumber, yelled, "My dues went up $200 this year." "For what, your Tesla?" Karen's cool mask cracked. "You're all twisting this." "I've done nothing but help this neighborhood," she snapped. Harold banged his gavel, looking panicked. "Let's take a break," he said, but nobody listened. I saw my chance and kept going. "Karen, you fined us for mailboxes, gnomes parking, petty stuff to keep us quiet while you stole from me and planned to bill us all for your charging station." I pointed at the screen, where her Tesla's error message flashed after the surge. "That $22,000 battery repair? That's on you for ignoring my system's warnings." Neighbors started clapping, and Karen's face went pale. Then came the twist I didn't see coming. Richard, her lawyer husband, stood up from the back row. He was tall, in a crisp suit, and everyone went quiet. "Karen, enough," he said, his voice low but firm. "I told you to stop this nonsense months ago." The room froze. Karen stared at him, her mouth open. "Richard, you can't," she started, but he cut her off. "I'm not fighting your battles anymore. You've embarrassed us enough." He walked out, leaving Karen alone at the board table. Neighbors started chanting, "Resign. Resign." Harold tried to call order, but it was chaos. Karen grabbed her purse and stormed toward the door, shoving past Mike. "This isn't over, Lucas," she hissed at me. I just smiled. "We'll see." As the meeting broke up, Ellen pulled me aside. "We've got her, but she's not done fighting. Richard might have ditched her, but she's got friends on the board." Mike and Lisa joined us, looking pumped. "Half the neighborhood's ready to vote her out," Mike said. "We just need a new president who's not her puppet." I nodded, but my mind was on Karen's parting shot. She wasn't the type to go quietly, and I had a feeling her next move would be bigger than petty fines or sneaky cousins. I needed to be ready for whatever she threw at us. Karen's heels clicked out of the community center, but her threat lingered in my head like a bad song. "This isn't over, Lucas." I knew she meant it. The meeting ended in chaos, with neighbors shouting about new board elections and Harold mumbling about procedure before slinking off. Ellen, Mike, and Lisa stayed behind, buzzing with energy. "We've got her on the run," Mike said, grinning. "Half the neighborhood's ready to boot her out." Ellen wasn't so sure. "She's got allies on the board, and Richard might have walked out, but he's still her husband. We need to be careful." I nodded, my mind already racing. Karen wasn't just a bully, she was a planner, and I had a feeling she'd hit back hard. The next morning, I checked my security cameras, half expecting to see Tommy or another of Karen's goons messing with my outlet again. Nothing. The power protection unit sat untouched, its warning lights dark. But something fell off. I called the power company to double-check my bill, and the rep dropped a bomb. "Mr. Bennett, your account was flagged for an inspection. Someone reported unsafe wiring at your address." My stomach sank. Karen. She couldn't prove my system fried her Tesla, so she was trying to get my power shut off. I explained the situation, and the rep promised to delay the inspection, but I knew I was on borrowed time. Karen was playing dirty, and I needed to stay one step ahead. I went to Ellen's house, where she was sorting through more HOA records. "Karen's desperate," I said, showing her a new violation notice in my mailbox, this one for unapproved exterior modifications on my outlet box. Ellen frowned. "She's trying to bury you in fines before the election. Look at this." She handed me a document showing Karen had proposed a special assessment to upgrade the community's electrical grid, another $500 per household. The kicker? The contract would go to a company owned by her cousin. "She's not giving up," Ellen said. "She's betting we'll back down." I shook my head. "Not this time. We need to get the board election moved up." Mike and Lisa spread the word, and by evening we had 20 neighbors at my place, crammed into my living room. Tom, the plumber, was there, along with a nurse named Priya and an accountant named Greg. They were fed up with Karen's fines and shady deals. "She told me my porch light was too bright," Priya said, rolling her eyes. "Charged me $75. Greg pulled out his laptop. I ran the numbers. Her upgrades have cost us $15,000 in 2 years, and most of it went to her cousin's businesses. I shared my plan, push for an emergency election to replace Karen and Harold, using Ellen's evidence to disqualify them. Everyone agreed, but Tom warned, Karen's got friends. The board's treasurer, Diane, is loyal to her. They'll fight dirty. That night, my phone pinged with another camera alert. I expected Karen or Tommy, but it was worse. Diane, the treasurer, was in my backyard taking pictures of my outlet box with her phone. She didn't touch it, just snapped photos and left. My heart raced. This was Karen's next move. She was building a case, probably to claim my system was hazardous and get me fined or sued. I saved the footage and called Mike. "They're coming for me," I said. "We need to act fast." He suggested a bold move. "Post the videos online on the neighborhood's private forum. Let everyone see what she's doing," he said. I hesitated. Posting could backfire, especially with Richard's legal threats. But Lisa chimed in. "People are mad, Lucas. They'll rally behind you." I uploaded the clips, Karen stealing power, Tommy tampering, Diane sneaking around, with a short note, "This is why our fees keep rising." By morning, the forum exploded. Neighbors commented, shared their own stories of Karen's fines, and demanded a new election. Karen tried to save face posting. These are lies from a jealous neighbor. My lawyer will handle this. But the tide was turning. Priya organized a petition, and within hours, we had 60 signatures to force an emergency meeting. Then came the twist. Diane, the treasurer, messaged me privately. "Lucas, meet me at the park." Alone. I was wary, but I went. Diane looked nervous, clutching her purse. "I didn't know Karen was stealing," she said. "She told me your box was illegal. I want out." I stared, stunned. "Then testify at the meeting," I said. She nodded, but her eyes darted around. "Karen can't know yet." I agreed, but I didn't trust her. Karen had a way of pulling strings, and I wasn't sure whose side Diane was really on. Diane's nervous glance stuck with me as I left the park. Her offer to testify against Karen sounded like a win, but something about her shaky voice made me uneasy. Karen had a knack for turning people into pawns, and I wasn't sure if Diane was playing me or genuinely scared. Back home, I checked the neighborhood forum. The petition for an emergency HOA election had 75 signatures now, more than enough to force a vote. Neighbors posted screenshots of their own fines. $100 for unapproved flower beds, $60 for a basketball hoop. Karen's grip on Willow Creek was slipping, but I knew she'd have one last trick up her sleeve. I double-checked my power protection unit and cameras, making sure everything was ready for whatever came next. The next day, Ellen called me over to her place. Her dining table was covered with old HOA binders, some yellowed from age. "Look at this," she said, pointing to a 2019 rule about board members disclosing conflicts of interest. Karen never reported her cousin's landscaping contracts. That's grounds for removal, no vote needed. My jaw dropped. This was bigger than the quorum issue. It could end Karen's reign instantly. "Why didn't you mention this before?" I asked. Ellen sighed. "I only found it last night. I've got 20 years of records here." We agreed to present it at the emergency meeting, set for Friday. Mike and Lisa were rallying more neighbors, and Priya had printed flyers calling Karen out for her shady deals. The momentum was ours, but I couldn't shake the feeling that Karen was cooking up something big. That night, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Back off, or you'll regret it." No name, but it had Karen written all over it. I showed it to Mike, who was at my place helping me prep for the meeting. "She's scared," he said, but his voice wavered. "What if Richard's behind this? A lawsuit could bankrupt you." I shrugged, trying to stay calm. "My system's legal, and we've got evidence. Let her try." But deep down I was worried. Karen's threats were getting personal, and I didn't know how far she'd go. Then came a knock at my door. It was Greg, the accountant, looking rattled. "Lucas, someone slashed my tires last night. I posted about Karen's cousin on the forum yesterday." My stomach twisted. "You think it was Tommy?" Greg nodded. "Saw a guy in a hoodie running off. Same logo as your video." Karen was fighting dirty, and now she was targeting my allies. I called Diane, hoping she'd stick to her word. Her phone went to voicemail. I left a message, keeping it vague. "Diane, we need you at the meeting. You know what's right." An hour later, she texted back. "I'll be there. Don't tell anyone." Her secrecy bugged me, but I had no choice but to trust her, for now. The next morning, the forum lit up with a new post from Karen. She claimed my power protection unit caused dangerous electrical surges that damaged her Tesla and threatened the neighborhood's grid. She attached a blurry photo of my outlet box and a letter from her cousin's company, confirming the hazard. Neighbors started arguing online. Some believed her, others called a lie. Karen was sowing doubt, trying to turn the tide before the meeting. I met with Ellen, Mike, and Lisa at Priya's house to regroup. Priya's kids were playing in the yard, giving our meeting a normal, human feel despite the tension. "She's splitting the neighborhood," Lisa said, scrolling through the forum. "Some people think you're the problem, Lucas." I clenched my fists. Then we show them the truth. I pulled up my power logs, proving my system only surged after Karen ignored the warnings. Ellen added her conflict of interest evidence, and Greg brought financial records showing Karen's cousin overcharged for shoddy work. We had a mountain of proof, but Mike looked worried. What if Diane flips? Karen's good at twisting people, I nodded. That's why we go in hard. No hesitation. The night before the meeting, my camera caught movement again. This time, it was Karen herself, standing in my backyard, staring at my outlet box. She didn't touch it, just stood there, like she was planning something. Then she looked right at the camera, smirked, and walked away. My heart pounded. It was a message. She wasn't done. I stayed up late, backing up every video and document to a cloud drive. If Karen wanted to fight, I was ready. But the biggest twist came at dawn. Diane called, her voice trembling. "Lucas, Karen knows I'm helping you. She threatened to ruin me. I'm still coming, but watch your back." I hung up, my mind racing. Karen was closing in, and the meeting tomorrow would be our last chance to take her down. Diane's call left me rattled, but there was no turning back. The emergency HOA meeting was hours away, and Willow Creek was a powder keg. Karen's forum post about my dangerous outlet box had split the neighborhood. Some believed her lies, others backed our petition. I spent the morning double-checking my evidence. Videos of Karen stealing power, Tommy tampering, Diane sneaking photos, plus Ellen's records of Karen's illegal votes and shady contracts. It was enough to bury her, but Karen was slippery. Her late-night stare at my camera felt like a promise. She had something planned. I texted Mike, Lisa, Ellen, and Greg to meet at my place. We needed to be ready for anything. They showed up, tense but determined. Lisa brought coffee, trying to lighten the mood. "We're like a neighborhood crime squad," she joked, but her hands shook. Mike paced, checking his phone. "The forum's going nuts. People are calling for Karen's head, but Diane's been quiet online. You sure she's with us?" I wasn't sure, but I lied. "She'll show. She's scared, but she knows Karen's wrong." Ellen spread her documents on my table. "If Diane backs out, we've still got this. Karen broke the conflict of interest rule. The board can remove her without a vote." Greg nodded, holding up his financial breakdown. "Her cousin's company billed us $12,000 for work worth half that. People are furious." We agreed to stick together at the meeting, no matter what Karen pulled. An hour before the meeting, my phone buzzed with a new forum post. It was from Harold, the HOA president, announcing he was stepping down due to health issues. The timing stunk. Karen was clearing the board to take over as president. I called him, but he didn't pick up. She got to him, Ellen said, her voice grim. Probably promised him something to quit. My stomach churned. If Karen became president, she'd crush us with fines and rules. We had to act fast. Priya texted that 80 neighbors had RSVP'd for the meeting, a record. "They're mad, Lucas," she wrote. "Show them everything." I grabbed my laptop, USB drive, and a portable speaker, ready to make sure every word was heard. The community center was packed, standing room only. Neighbors whispered and pointed as Karen sat at the board table, alone now, her usual smile gone. Diane was there in the back, avoiding my eyes. I set up the projector, my hand steady despite my racing heart. The meeting started, and Karen stood, her voice sharp. "I'm nominating myself for president, given Harold's resignation. We need strong leadership, not troublemakers spreading lies." She glared at me. I stepped forward, laptop ready. "Before you vote, see this." I played the videos, Karen plugging in her Tesla, Tommy prying at my box, Diane taking photos. The crowd gasped, then shouted. "Thief," someone yelled. Karen's face twisted. "That's fake. My lawyer's filing charges against you, Lucas." But the room wasn't hers anymore. Ellen took the mic, holding up her documents. Karen funneled $12,000 to her cousin's company and broke our bylaws with an illegal vote for charging stations. Neighbors booed. Greg added, "She's been overcharging us for years." Then came the twist I didn't expect. Diane stood, her voice shaky but loud. I helped Karen with the fines. She told me Lucas's box was illegal. I was wrong. The room went silent. Karen screamed, "You traitor," and lunged toward Diane. But Tom and Priya blocked her. Diane kept going. Karen threatened to ruin my business if I didn't back her. She's been lying to us all. Neighbors roared, chanting, "Out, out." Karen's eyes darted to the door, but there was no escape. I seized the moment. We're voting for a new board tonight. Karen's done. I nominated Ellen for president and Mike and Priya for the board. The crowd cheered, but Karen wasn't finished. She grabbed the mic. You'll regret this. My husband's already drafting lawsuits. You'll all pay. Her voice cracked, and for the first time, she looked small. The vote was quick. Ellen won president, Mike and Priya took board seats, and Karen was removed for violating bylaws. She stormed out, shoving chairs aside, as neighbors clapped. But as we celebrated, Greg pulled me aside. Lucas, I saw Richard outside, talking to a guy in a landscaping truck. They didn't look happy. My heart sank. Karen was down, but she wasn't out, and her final move was coming. Karen's dramatic exit left the community center buzzing, but Greg's warning about Richard and the landscaping truck stuck with me. I stepped outside, scanning the parking lot. There was Richard leaning against his SUV, talking to a guy I recognized as Tommy's dad, Karen's cousin. They spotted me and went quiet, their eyes cold. I nodded politely and walked back inside, my gut telling me this wasn't over. Ellen, now the new HOA president, was already organizing with Mike and Priya to undo Karen's shady rules. We're canceling the charging station plan, Ellen said, her voice firm. And we're auditing every contract Karen touched. The crowd cheered, but I kept thinking about Richard. He ditched Karen at the meeting, but he was still a lawyer, and lawyers don't let things slide. The next day, I got a certified letter from Richard's law firm, demanding $25,000 for damages to Karen's Tesla, claiming my power protection unit was negligent. I laughed. It was a scare tactic. My system was legal, and I had logs proving Karen ignored the warnings. I showed the letter to Ellen, who smirked. Richard's bluffing. He knows they've got no case. Still, I called my old boss from the data center, a guy who knew electrical law inside out. He confirmed my setup was clean and offered to write a statement if it went to court. That eased my mind, but then Mike called sounding spooked. Lucas, someone broke into my garage last night. Didn't take anything, just messed up my tools. You think it's Tommy. I clenched my jaw. Karen was lashing out, using her cousin's crew to intimidate us. I checked my cameras that night, half expecting trouble. Sure enough, at 2 a.m., Tommy was back, creeping toward my outlet box with a crowbar. My system's lights flashed and a loud alarm blared, sending him sprinting. I saved the footage and called the police. By morning, Tommy was in cuffs for attempted vandalism, thanks to my video. Karen's cousin showed up at the station, yelling about false accusations, but the evidence was airtight. Word spread fast, and the neighborhood forum lit up with support. Priya posted, Karen's family is done bullying us. Even Diane, who'd been quiet since the meeting, chimed in, apologizing publicly for helping Karen. A week later, Ellen called an HOA meeting to share the audit results. Karen's cousin's contracts were canceled, saving us $10,000 a year. The fines for mailboxes and gnomes were scrapped, and the new board proposed fair electric charging stations for everyone, not just Tesla owners. Karen and Richard put their house up for sale, unable to handle the neighborhood's cold shoulder. As they moved out, Karen avoided my eyes, her Tesla long gone to a repair shop. I heard it cost her $22,000 to fix the battery, and Richard wasn't covering it. Neighbors threw a block party to celebrate, with Ellen toasting, to freedom from bullies. Everyone laughed, but her words hit deep. We'd fought back together, and we'd won. The lesson was clear. Nobody's untouchable when a community stands united. Karen thought she could steamroll us, but she underestimated our strength. As I sipped a beer at the party, watching kids play and neighbors chat, I felt lighter. We'd taken back Willow Creek, and it felt good.